Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host. Reverend Dr. D, along with my very special guest, returning after 6 months of craziness on probably both our parts, and obviously a lot of stuff that's going on. The last program that I did, that I recorded here for the program Tell Me Your Story, I dedicated with my guest, Penn, to the love and all of the contributions of Rob Reiner and his family, his wife, who were both murdered over the weekend. And today's program we're going to dedicate to the folks who were lost in Australia. And I say this every time when I talk about the guests I've had on. Some of my favorites have been rabbis. They've been absolutely incredible conversations. Well, I don't know that my guest, Annie Guest, is a rabbi. Nonetheless, it is a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you for being here to continue our conversation from almost virtually 6 months ago. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, Richard. Thank you. I'm not a rabbi, but I can certainly speak to grief, which was the motivation for me to write the book.
Absolutely. And we want to talk about the book as well. And for those of you who are just joining us, I would love for you to give those who are listening a little background on who you are and part of why you wrote Design for Your Mind. And also we'll want to give out your website quite easily is anyguestdesign guestdesign.com. If I'm trying to look at, wait a minute, any guest design for your mind.com. Thank you.
Yes.
I was looking at your email address and almost gave that out.
Yes.
Anyway, please share with us the beginnings of all of this, and then we'll dive deeper.
Thank you. Richard, I'm a mental health therapist with a lifelong passion for interior design. I lived next door to my parents during their final years, so I'm also a former family caregiver. My dad had Parkinson's, and my mom eventually developed dementia after many years with spinal stenosis. So she struggled with her mobility long before she developed the dementia. As the oldest child in the family, and obviously a daughter, and the sibling who lived next door to my parents, a lot of the family caregiving responsibilities fell to me over years. And when my parents passed away, I inherited the house, but before possession or title passed to me. My sister and I, as co-executors, spent well over a year cleaning the house out. So, clearing out years of clutter. Um, and by the end of that process, I was feeling a little burnt out. I eventually decided to use what I understood as a mental health therapist and my tap into my passion for interior design to redesign the house in ways that helped me to recover my connection with myself and find my spark again. It also occurred to me that many other people were in the same situation as family caregivers, and I thought if I could collect all the information that I was gathering in my research about where to donate things and how to recharge through design, I could help other people take a jump start, get a jump start on their own recovery. So that's how I wrote the book.
Well, it is very interesting. Um, as far as my observations, I've heard this phrase quite often that it is the challenges in our life that build character. And I'm going, there's got to be an easier way, There's got to be. Is there a book I can read? Someone I can just talk to, kind of thing. But I would say that in this world that we live, this is the way it's done. Whether you like it or not, unless you live like a hermit somewhere, okay, which we don't, you know, um, this is the process that we go through. And some of us have been through it a lot. I mean, a few
Yes,
years ago, my boss, it was every time he turned around, there was a grievous situation. He lost somebody. All right. And over the last 5 years, since the beginning of COVID, I've lost a number of people. Lost my eldest sister in
oh,
2022. Lost my father in March of 2023, along with my best friend of 53 years. We went through grade school, high school, college together. Then a dear friend, native Shumash Indian in Santa Barbara. He passed away in June of 2024. And then in 25, our dog died. We had to let him go. And then we got evicted. And then the whole process of moving. And now we're settled and the dust is settling and we're making our house our home and all those kinds of things. And yet there's still that undercurrent that
yes.
there's a part of me that feels a little bit like it may never go away. Is that kind of what a lot of people that's part of the grieving process. It's like, okay, I'm grieving over the loss, but it's like I'm grieving and I wish this would go away because it hurts so much. And it's like time who heals all wounds doesn't help, you know?
It's simplistic. I mean, that axiom is simplistic, and I think it can be a little bit insulting sometimes, but there are ways to process loss, and you're talking about a lot of loss, and I'm so sorry about it, um, in ways that push you forward into your life so that you're stronger than before. And that isn't a platitude. That is learning how to use, learning how to accept reality and face it and understand it.
Mm,
Um, one
yeah.
of the things that actually distinguishes the experience that led me to write the book and that I hope other caregivers can pull from it is that the time that you spend in caregiving is extensive, and it's time that you might have spent nurturing your own relationships with the outside world and building your own community. And that is something that each of us needs as we go on into our own old age. So, with respect to caregivers in particular, the purpose of my sending that information out in a book was to help jumpstart their process of working through their decluttering the house and finding their spark again so that they can go on with their lives without undue delay.
That's interesting because um, my wife and I have both experienced losses. Now, most of the losses that I have experienced, she shares in because she's a member of the family. But she is the last of her family: mother, father, brothers, and sisters, all gone. And so she is still, after years, she's still grieving over the loss of all of them. She has, and she's gets upset over not having family. And I've stopped saying, well, but you're a member of our family. No, it doesn't help. So I don't use that anymore to try to placate her or to calm her or anything. The best I can do, at least at this point, is I can just let her know I'm here, I'm listening, and so on and so forth. Do my best to physically comfort her by, like I said, holding her and so forth. So the platitudes are not the kind of thing that we want to share with people because
No,
it really doesn't do any good.
no.
Um,
No. And it signals that you don't understand. And so it can be isolated. You can feel even lonelier hearing something that it doesn't even address what you're actually feeling, but it's
eh,
telling you how to feel.
yeah, that's interesting that you put it that way. Thank you for the clarification there. At the same time, part of the reason that I do it isn't because I don't understand, because I
Yeah.
do. I've lost my
Yeah.
father and my eldest sister. Yes, my
Yeah.
family is still pretty much intact. Still have three sisters and a brother and a mother. She's still kicking in 91 and a half years. It's
Wonderful.
more trying to, I don't know, maybe I'm trying to say something um, that will, I don't know, at least let her know that I care. I mean, I don't know what else I can say other than say nothing. And maybe I kind of hear in my ear here, I hear the listeners and viewers going, just shut up. Just
Or
shut
just
up.
or
You don't
or
need to
just
say
say, I
anything.
understand. I
Yeah.
understand and I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Um,
So
um,
go
uh,
ahead, please. You're
Richard, I was thinking, in one year, last year, I lost two friends to cancer and my younger brother, all in one year. And um, my it has made me so much more conscious of the preciousness of friendships, of
mm,
every single friend, every single sibling, every single time, or family member, every time we get together. I don't take things, I don't take these connections for granted anymore.
mm,
I don't see them as, I see them as precious, finite resources
mm,
and essential to health. And I can only imagine what your wife is feeling with her
yeah.
parents gone, with her
Hmm.
siblings gone. What she's saying is that she feels, at some level, she feels isolated.
Oh yeah, very much so. Um, and you know, and I can't even imagine what my mother, after 2 years, almost 2 years. I'm sure she is still, because I remember the two of them, when he was alive, they were sharing a conversation the two of them had had about dreams that they had about the other. And at that point, it was one of them was leaving the earth, kind of thing. And I remember my father sharing his dream, if I'm remembering correctly, where he was all alone, like in the woods somewhere, and he couldn't find my mother. And he was just panicking like crazy. I think my mother's dream was a little different, a little less dramatic. Nonetheless, what that said to me was, I hope he goes first. I don't know how, because he'll go almost right after if she
Yeah,
goes first,
yeah,
kind of
yes,
thing.
yeah,
And my
yeah,
mother, after, as I say, 26, after almost 3 years, I can't believe how vibrant and energetic she is. But by the same token, she was taking care. She was his caregiver
yeah,
predominantly for the last few years of his life. So
yeah,
I know too, and I'm sure she's dealt with this, and I certainly hope she's been through therapy or something of this nature, where she understands, it's your time. It's okay. You gave to him everything you had, and so forth. What
yeah.
about, I guess they call it survivor's guilt? What about that in terms of the caregivers who are relatives, not so much caregivers who come in, it's their job through hospice and
Mhm.
so forth?
Yeah.
Although I would venture, I can only imagine the therapy they must be going through too, because you can't go through that process over and over and over and over again without it affecting you, right?
You would probably have to process it and interpret it in a way that helped you to maintain some emotional distance.
Hmm.
Um, as I do as a mental health therapist. You you have to do that in order to remain effective. You do that for yourself and also for your clients. Um, you were talking about survivor's guilt. My guess is that it's less survivor's guilt that the survivor feels than guilt that the one might feel a little relieved. Um, One might not be as devastated by the ending, by the loss of the person as one might have expected. And there are all kinds of emotions that you might not give yourself permission to feel, and you're feeling anyway.
Yeah. I know too that this goes through the connected or a relative caregiver. Um, and it's hard not to think this way in spite of the fact that it sounds horrible.
Mhm.
Um, and believe it or not, I actually did think of this very briefly with my father near the last few days of his life. I wish he would just go. Just let go so that we can then let go, kind of thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, and I don't know, maybe that's still part of the survivor's guilt, but it's at the same time, it's not vindictive. It's
Yeah.
we want to minimize their suffering and
Yeah.
in turn, in a manner of speaking, ours.
Yes. 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 Um, it, um, and our loved one may want to let go as well and not be able to speak anymore.
Mm,
Um, Maybe just lying in bed in hospice care, and can't let go yet, but
mm,
wishes he or she should or could.
yeah,
Um, I think we get confused because we haven't given ourselves permission to feel those emotions, and we've never been there before.
yeah,
We've never been in this situation. We're saying, why am I feeling this way? I absolutely adore my mom. I adore my dad. Why am I hoping that today is the day that they can find peace?
Yeah.
Um,
I end every program. You may recall that I end every program with what I like to refer to as an homage to several individuals, some that are here and some that are not. My wife, Love to Lal, then to my eldest sister, um, uh, to my father, to my best friend, to another dear friend who took his own life, and then to a dear friend who passed away here in Santa Barbara in June of 24. And I remember doing that, and one of my guests made the comment afterwards that, every time you do that, they come a running, so to speak. They're there with you when you do that. And I thought, oh, cool. Great. Um, the only one I've heard voices from has been my eldest sister, and it was the shortly after she had passed, and I heard, "Hey, Richard, it's okay. Everything's good. Everything's good." 3 months earlier, a phone conversation she and I had, and I asked her that question, Jeanette, are you ready? Are you ready? And of course, she gave me that answer, yes and no. And I'm, Jeanette. And of course, no, because she didn't want to leave her husband with all that she knew he was going to have to do.
yeah,
But yes, she was ready. She wasn't afraid.
yeah.
Is this at all a process that a caregiver can offer to the family and friends remaining, that this is a lesson that is being given to them, uh, to maybe better understand the process? I was watching one of these short little videos, which actually went on for about 15 minutes, and it was this woman. I stand corrected. It was a documentary my wife was watching, and this woman, she was sharing with, I think, stage 4 cancer patients, the month long process prior to passing that the body goes through, which I had never heard before. I knew about the mind and like Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and her stages of grief, but I had never heard about this. And it then explains why my father, several days prior, when my mother was trying to give him some water, he didn't know who she was. And he fought her, saying, "You're trying to drown me. You're trying to kill me," kind of thing. Um, is there a process that you're aware of that's sort of been documented, studied, and then documented, that the individual who is passing? Because this is important for those who are listening who maybe are that close. So at least they might, at certain phases, understand, oh, I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer and closer to leaving, as well as those who are left behind, who are left here. Is there anything like that that you know of?
Not specifically that I know of, but it may exist. I do know that my mom um, lost her ability to swallow, so eventually she couldn't drink water. Um, and not only would she not eat, but she couldn't drink water. And I think as I mean, I'm not going to speak directly to answer your question. I wouldn't presume to do that, but what I witnessed was that certain physical capacities shut down, which were are life sustaining, necessary to stay alive, and that facilitated the process of her passing.
Mm. Design for your mind. How a family caregiver and mental health therapist renovates her home to recharge her life. We'll talk more about that. Oh, and didn't break the bank. My guest, Annie Guest, she is here with me, Reverend Dr. D, on Tell Me Your Story. We are talking about probably a very sensitive subject, especially this time of year. Especially. Um, I don't know if it's a good thing. that my father and my sister passed in the month of March, and then my best friend in May, and then my other friend, Native American friend, in June, and so on and so forth. Because when family and friends and acquaintances pass away during holidays, it makes those holidays in the future all that much more difficult.
Mhm.
And again, I want to stay away from the platitudes, of course, but it just seems to me that there's got to be a way to incorporate how, we talk about celebrating their life after they've passed. I remember my father's memorial. I can't remember if we did refer to it as such, but what I do remember is the theme, the unofficial theme was, Dad, we, those you have left behind, your sons and daughters and wife, we wouldn't be who we are if you hadn't been here. And we thank you for that.
Mhm.
Um, is there a way for us, and does it have to wait until after, that we can start to make that kind of an evaluation, if you will, to say, hey, uh, I I'm the person I am because this person it was in my life. This person did this, that, and the other. Like my best friend. Now I've cried over my father and my sister and some others. I have not cried over my best friend of 53 years because we had so much fun together. Every time I think about him, I laugh. I mean, it was just extraordinary what we had. Talk to us a little bit about all of this.
Here's a suggestion. I mean, here's just something that I do that doesn't require forcing myself into a particular frame of thought. Um, I have a Christmas tree, and when I lose somebody I love, I have a Christmas ornament with the name of that loved one, and I hang it on the tree.
Mm,
And Christmas being a time of reflection, if we organize it right and we're not running around exhausting ourselves, but when we can take some quiet time, provides an opportunity to quietly reflect on the significance of those loved ones. Not in a way that forces you or where you have to listen to somebody else's interpretation or telling you what to think, but just you have the reminder.
hmm
That's a very quiet, simple way to celebrate that person's life and what that person gave to you and how that person helped transform you.
It's interesting when I think about those aspects that have transformed me from my father. I quote him all the time. He always hated it when I referred to him not in the gangsta mode of wise guy, but as one who was always giving me these wise sayings. Eat, drink, and be merry in moderation because no one gets out of this world alive, was one of his, among others that I remember as I go through my life. And of course, some of the things that my best friend and I used to come up with when we were in school. Um, I am able to fortunately hear both my best friend's and my father's voice because I interviewed my father and mother 15 years ago on this program. And so I can go back. Folks can go to SoundCloud and pull that up if you want, Less Than Sylvia Dugan, and listen to that interview that I did with them. Let's talk a little bit about one of the aspects in that conversation I had with them, friends, family. Um, how important is it to let people know what's going on, even before the person has passed? Maybe they won't be able to visit, but maybe they could make a phone call. I mean, we were here in Santa Barbara when we called my mother and father the night before he passed away, and thank God we had a video phone that we were able to see him. Uh, I didn't even think to record it, but that's okay. And getting in touch with people and letting them know whether I mean, if they had a rift, they'll say, no, I want nothing to do with that person. They did me wrong many years ago. Oh, fine. Okay. I'm just letting you know, you don't need to go off on me. Um, but how and why is that important?
One of my friends who died of cancer, in the year that I'm mentioning, the year that my brother and my other friend died of cancer, called me the day before she died to say goodbye. It meant
Whoa.
everything to me. I will never forget it. I will never
Whoa.
forget her generosity, through her entire battle with pancreatic cancer, where she shared what she was experiencing. She didn't block me out. She didn't block anyone out. And she shared her fears and her joy and her love, right up until the day before she died, and even called me to say goodbye.
Wow.
Um, I think I think that it's important to respect the wishes of the person who's dying if that person is in a position to make those decisions and decide the extent to which he or she wants to disclose the situation, and say goodbye if if appropriate. But I might, you might have, by the same token, you might have somebody else going through the same situation, dealing with the same illness, who is so concerned about being inundated with advice,
Mm-hmm.
and the kind of platitudes that we were talking about earlier, that the person wants to control access to that information. But to the extent possible, I would leave it up to that person, the person who is ill.
Mm. Any guest is my guest here on the program that I have been doing since September of 2007, and we call it Tell Me Your Story. We are here with any guest, and I'm going to go down a road that there are going to be some who are not going to like. All right. I already know they're not going to like this because I know where they're coming from. In September 2016, and I may have shared this story with you before, I got sucked into the political arena mentally. It took me 6 months to get unsucked. In January of 2017, I came up with this 3 step that became 4 steps, thank you to one of my other guests, to get out of that situation. First one was, thank you, teacher, for teaching me how not to be. Second one was, I forgive you, but more importantly, I forgive myself for being drawn into this quagmire. Third one was a question, what is it that you're so afraid of that makes you behave this way? And the fourth one was, I love you. All of this has to be genuine. And the first one, my intuition said, you have to say it out loud. You cannot just say it in your head. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you that my perspective has shifted to this. In 2015, June, I saw him come down the escalator and I heard the words that were coming out of his mouth and I heard the energy. And the energy is what I'm talking about. And even at that time, I said, there is no way that an individual, doesn't matter whether it's him or anybody else, can continue to put out this kind of bitterness and vengefulness, and the list goes on of however you want to categorize it, without it doing harm to that individual who's putting this out. And I'm in a place today at the end of 2025, going into 2026, where, believe it or not, my heart goes out to this man because I don't think he's going to live much longer unless he makes a shift away from that energy flow. And we're seeing, unfortunately, and I'm watching not sound bites, but full blown videos, unedited, of the deterioration. You can see it. And I'm not being critical and I'm not being judgmental. I'm saddened by the fact that people have allowed this to go on and no one has gotten in his face and said, you got to tone this down or you're going to kill yourself. This can't last. None of us can do that. You've seen this in the malls and in your work and all of this kind of stuff. People walking around with a sour face. When was the last time you saw the president actually smile? 99% of the time, it's a frown. you know? So I'm thinking of that in terms of some of these folks. I've seen old men especially, but some women too, who walk around, and my father started going there at the age of 91. He started to look like a question mark. You've seen him, right? Because they're carrying incredible burdens. Is there anything we can do for them or to help them? I know that it has to be their choice, but is there a way to open that door? Have you ever done that? Or is that something where I'm getting too close, too personal? I need to stay detached, what you were talking about earlier.
Oh, no, no, let me clarify. Um, I'm not talking about not being able to get close to a client. Um, I'm talking about I'm talking about not letting myself assume their problem
Right.
as my own.
Mm-hmm.
That is very important. If
Okay.
I assume their problem is my own, I lose my objectivity and I can't help them.
Mm-hmm.
Please, if I miscommunicated, I'm going to correct
Well, I
that.
appreciate the clarification.
Oh, please.
Is it
That's
appropriate though for
basic.
is it
Yeah,
appropriate for us though to want to, though again, recognizing it will always be their choice. We can't force them to do anything,
yeah,
especially at that, let's say, that last month or so,
yeah.
uh, to clean things up, because I can honestly say with my father, we left nothing unsaid, but there were a lot of people who have a lot of stuff that they left unsaid.
Um, I think I think that question mark that you're depicting
Hmm.
um, can result from a feeling of isolation, a feeling of having been betrayed, being misunderstood. Um, it takes a while to to develop that. An antidote to it is to know that you're loved,
Mm,
to know that you can express yourself, that you don't have to be defensive, you don't have to be express yourself through anger.
mm.
Um, that's not a confrontation the other person could might have with you. That's simply being there.
Yeah.
That's unconditional in the psychology world. They call that unconditional positive regard. Doesn't mean your therapist approves of everything you're doing and saying. It means that
Mhm.
your therapist is not going to reject you for something that you might say or think.
Mm. Okay. Because that's one of the things that through that four-step thing that I described earlier, that I really did have to come to grips with. What would happen if, let's just say, I met this guy in a hallway, not a dark alley, but but a hallway? Would I want to talk with him? And quite honestly, I would, to say, look, pal, it doesn't matter, your policies or any of that stuff. Okay, you're shortening your life. If you want to be effective down the years for another, if you want to be here for another 20 years to be 100, the only way that you're going to do that is to let go of some of this stuff. Now, the mindset may say, I don't care. But the reality is, once we've heard or seen something, we can't unhear or see it. Like this program. Once people have listened to it, they can't unhear it. They're going to have to deal with it someday. So if I can at least put those bugs in his ear and say, come on, man, if you really want to leave a genuine legacy, then live a little longer by getting rid of this stuff.
Mhm,
Show people that you can change, and so on and so on and so forth. But again, it's always going to be that person's choice.
mhm,
But sometimes we are led to say some of these things to people
mhm.
who are on their deathbeds. We just finished watching the series The Big C. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I know, no, no spoilers here, but it's
Okay.
it's fascinating, the dynamics that they put in there that you would never have thought they would have put in there. Oh my God. Or the drama, and so forth. Just incredible. And I I mean, this subject is near and dear to my heart, not because of all of the losses. It's all I've always been curious. When someone passes away, I'm going, I wonder what they're going through. I wonder what they're doing. And after reading Dr. Newton's work on life between lives, and I like what he has had to say in his case studies and so forth. I don't know if you're familiar or not, but it gives me hope. Again, it's still a belief. It's just a belief about what's after this life. I don't know. Nobody does. Um, but it gives me peace, and that's kind of where I'm coming from. What about preparing the one who is getting ready to depart or die, if you will? Bernie Siegel was on this program, and when I made that comment about his wife transitioning, he says, "What do you mean transitioning? She didn't transition. She died. Why can't we use the word die?" I said, so in deference to Bruce Bernie Siegel, Dr. Bernie Siegel, and his wife, I'm going to say, is can we have you been able to sort of, I don't know if the word is lessen the blow or ease their minds by having a conversation about what you believe is after this life?
This would only be with reference to my mom and dad and brother and the friend I told you about.
Hmm.
Um, Frankly, Richard, I was more interested in what they thought. Really, it's not, you and I may not approach this in quite the same way. It really isn't about what I think.
Okay.
It's their, for each of them, it's their chance to talk, to express themselves, to say things that mm, they wish they had said earlier, to process, to express what they're learning as they go through the process.
Hmm.
It's something that I haven't been through, and they can only teach me.
I see.
My job is to listen and to support and to love them.
Have you noticed that that brings them a little ease or comfort ease of a soften their minds are put at ease in that regard,
I
even though they don't
that
know
has
the
been
answer?
my perception.
Yeah.
It's been my perception, but
Yeah.
it what's important to me is to treat them with respect.
Hmm.
The thing that I would never want to do is sit there and espouse some theory that I have about what they're going through. I can't. I would find that presumptuous, and I would expect them to too. They're the ones who are taking this walk
Right.
through the unknown.
This is their
They
journey.
can, they're the
Yeah.
one going to sleep at night thinking about everything they're leaving behind, everyone they love, hoping that everyone is going to be okay after they're gone. I haven't been there yet.
Yeah. We're talking with Annie Guest. Book is Designed for Your Mind: How a Family Caregiver and Mental Health Therapist renovates her home to recharge her life and didn't break the bank by doing so. Well, we're going to talk some more with her as we encourage you to go to her website, anyguestdesignforyourmind.com. That's anyguestdesignforyourmind.com. We will be linked to that website as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I want to ask you, Annie Guest, who is my guest here on the program, and her website, anyguestdesignforyourmind.com. Did you ever see the movie The Bucket List with Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman?
Oh, well, people are talking about it right now because Rob Reiner directed it.
Right.
Um, I did years ago, but I
Yeah.
was planning to see it again.
Do folks that you have worked with, that you've been there as a caregiver, ever talked about that in terms of, I wish I had done this? And I bring this up because of a statement. I was watching another one of these videos, the last words of these various celebrities and so forth. And the one in particular, because he was sort of my first idol, if you will, not for long, musically. David Cassidy, because I used to watch the Partridge Family.
Ah,
Yeah. And I have their very first album. I still have it. I'm 65 and I still have it. But
bless
here,
your heart.
but here, here are his last words, which actually, believe it or not, I think about it all the time. And thankfully, I don't echo them. He said, this is what was reported. His last words were, so much wasted time. Now, obviously, he was referring to himself, I'm sure. But when I think about that, I think, okay, have I been wasting my time? And I can honestly say no, I have not. I've been putting my time to good use. But I'm curious, not necessarily quoting them, but in terms of the importance of a dying person's maybe last wish, but also their last words. Um, any that you remember that were really impactful to you, or they say what they say and then they go. Because I don't know what my father's. No, I stand corrected. My mother and father were having a conversation. He said, I believe it was, to my mother, I love you with all of my being. I think those were his last words. But tell us about the importance in that regard, if it is important.
It is important. It may not be the last words, the very last words that they say that it really delivers the message they want to leave you with. But my mom, for example, would thank everyone, everyone, the caregivers, the professional caregivers, the family members,
Mm.
and tell us she loved us. Um, and that is an important message to carry for the rest of your life. Regarding the so much wasted time, that is a profound message.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, David Cassidy, thank you. That is a profound message. That's the kind of message that people who are facing their own mortality deliver to the rest of us who haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
It's a warning.
Yeah.
Don't come to the end and say that.
Yeah.
Don't come to the end and say you wasted time.
Yeah. You
Use
know,
it now while you have it.
yeah. Steve Jobs, his quote was not so much like that. It was more his observations as the process began.
Yep.
And supposedly he said twice, he says, oh, wow. Oh, wow. I think that's the quote I seem to remember. In other words, his was a statement of awe and
Mm-hmm.
wonder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
As a
I should listen to his. I mean, he gave a whole lecture on this.
Yeah,
Um, and I should listen to it together again. But I remember the essence of it being um, a call to respect our own lives and the time that we have available to
yeah.
us. That it is a gift.
There was also a profound scene in one of the episodes of MASH with David Ogden Stiers. And apparently, someone in his family had passed away. He couldn't be there. And so he was following this one soldier around who they knew was going to die. And he wanted to know from the patient, from the soldier, what was going on. What was he experiencing? What are you seeing, tasting, smelling? And the young man was able to describe up to a point. And of course, you saw the tears coming down Charles' face, the character Charles, as he is listening. And this was actually, I think, I remember it was an episode around Christmas time, I think. But it it goes really to the core, doesn't it? For all of us, we are always, those profound questions of who am I? Why am I here? Where do I come from and where am I going? And that's sort of like another question of how do I do this? Where is there the manual that says, okay, and when your body is completely exhausted and tired, here's what you do. Okay, you think of this, you think of a button and then a snap. Then you think of your old childhood home, and then you click your heels three times with the red ruby slippers. And I just want to go home. I just want to go home.
Mhm.
There is nothing like that. There's I mean, we have the sages, we have the gurus, I've read Paramahansa Yogananda, and I remember this story that he tells of reincarnation and how a dear friend of his dies, and he tells him, "I will find you, I will find you," and supposedly he did. He did find the young boy that his friend reincarnated into, and it sort of goes to tell us a little bit, maybe, if we choose to believe the story, of what we really are. You ever seen the movie Men in Black? There's the
Mhm.
scene where this alien is laying on the table and they pop his head open, or his head pops open, and there's this tiny little character inside there who is really the essence of that huge thing, right?
Mhm.
Well, believe it or not, as a kid, I mean, we're talking 7 or 8 years old. I remember thinking about that. It's like, I'm inside here and I'm looking out these eyes and listening out these ears, but I'm this tiny little thing that is running this whole machine, this
Mhm.
biological machine.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I thought, oh, thank you, Men in Black, for tapping into my little dream that I had as a kid. Does that come through to folks sometimes that they begin to understand, oh, I'm not my body?
Yes. And it would have to as our bodies deteriorate. My
Hmm.
dad had Parkinson's. My mom had dementia. Um, their essence, and my brother had cancer. Their essence survived the deterioration of their bodies. I mean,
Hmm.
they were there. In fact, they were distilled. Their essence was distilled into something purer and stronger than it might have been in the rest of their lives, as they shed all kinds of other human foibles.
Yeah.
Yes.
That I came to the realization following the passing of my wife's nephew. When you hear this phrase, especially with specifically cancer patients, oh, he lost his battle with cancer. And the realization that hit me was you can't lose. It's win-win. If it goes into remission, you've won for a little while longer. But if it doesn't, you've still won because now you're free of that body. Um, Have you ever been visited? Are you aware in your spiritual life? Have you ever been aware of being visited by some of these individuals afterwards, thanking you, being appreciative of the fact that you were there and helped their family or friends or what have you, or just thanking you, or maybe just you got an impression that they were there and your awareness was that they appreciated that?
Um, I've had my life saved in really circuitous, through very, very unlikely chains of events um, that just shouldn't have happened.
Hmm.
Um, where I mean, the string of coincidences are just so absurd that um, I know there was some kind of intervention.
Yeah.
That I can say, absolutely.
Wow.
Um,
I want to get back to the bucket list.
yeah.
What are your thoughts about that for you as well as for those that you work with?
I remember when the bucket list came out and we were all charmed by the idea that we would put together a list and pursue it um, before we ran out of time. Um, and I think as a concept, it kind of wakes us up. Um, it's useful as a
Hmm.
concept. But I think what I've come to believe over time is that there I really don't want a list. I want to live fully every day.
Mm,
The value of that concept though is that it reminds me of the power of taking chances.
yeah.
I mean, one of the reasons that impending death was so liberating to the protagonists in this movie was that they were going to die anyway, so they
Hmm.
could take huge chances.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know there's that phrase,
Yes, but
live
we can
today if
take
it,
those every day.
yeah, live today as if it was your last.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's liberating.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can go out today and try to tap into something like that same level of courage and appetite for life, even though I'm not facing the immediacy of death.
Yeah. It is an extraordinary process. There's no question about it in my mind, anyway, as well as in Annie's mind. Any guest design for your mind.com. Why the mind as opposed to say for your life or for your soul and so forth or your body?
Because my fundamental interest is in using interior design to help support mental health, to reactivate creativity, to foster focus and concentration, soothe anxiety, all those things that originate in the mind.
Yeah. And just shifting back for just a second on this whole thing with the bucket list, I think I keep getting asked this of my wife. Do you have a bucket list? And I say, no, I don't have a bucket list. Now, does that mean that I've done all the things that I would really like to do? Well, no, but I, at least intellectually, have accepted the reality that I'm only going to get done with a certain amount of things in the time that I have been given. And I would love for there to be another 35 years. I would love to make it to 100 just because I like those kinds of milestones. When I turn 10 and 15 and 21 and 20 and 21 and 25 and 30 and 40 and 50 and 60, 65 and so forth, there was something. And I tell you what, when I turned 65, I'm thinking, oh, that's going to be a great year. But the wheels had already started coming off of the cart. So, at least that's how it felt. But I think it's for me, I've accepted the timetable, even though I don't know what it is, and that I will get done in the time I have been given what I get done. And if in fact there is absolutely reincarnation, well, then I will take those things that I missed, that I didn't get done in this life or the previous, what have you, and I'll get them done in the next one, assuming I choose to come back. I mean, this life has been very interesting. It's just gotten, when I was a kid, I thought, oh, how cool it's going to be an adult. All right. And then I got there. And yeah, it was, but there was a big part that wasn't, as we all know. And yet here I am at 65. I've made it this far. Hope to make it even further. Um, yeah, there are things I would like to do, but at the same time, I'm not going to put a lot of pressure. I got enough stress in my life as it is without having this list over here saying, oh my God, I haven't done this and this and this and this and this.
Mhm. Mhm.
And but I think it's still great to make a list, but don't put pressure on yourself,
Well,
because that may
I
shorten your
think
life.
yeah, well, I think the bucket list exists for me at least as a symbol. This
Hmm.
is a reminder
Yeah,
to live fully and to summon courage to take risks.
right.
Um, that although the protagonists in the movie were able to summon it possibly more easily because they were facing death
Mm-hmm.
anyway, that to remind us that we all are facing death ourselves.
That's right. That's right. We are. Again, like my father said, eat, drink, and be merry in moderation because nobody gets out of this world alive. And
Exactly.
I do
Your
mean
dad was right.
nobody.
Yep. Yep.
Well, this is fascinating. I want to send people to your website once again. Any guest designforyourmind.com. We will be linked to that website with this as well as the previous interview that we had with you, conversation we had with you. And we are certainly grateful for the time that you have given us here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, Reverend Dr. D. She is Annie Guest. Her book, once again, is Design for Your Mind. That's the title of the book. Please go and get a copy of that. Go to her website and you can go through that portal, if you will. Annie Guest designforyourmind.com is the website. Annie, thank you so much for giving us so much time here on the program. I love talking about this subject because, as I've said over and over and over again, this is my therapy, or part of it anyway. And it helps me to then help others to better understand who they are, why they're here. And, sometimes, we get into our life's purpose, but then we get sidetracked. And I know there are a couple of people, one that I referred to earlier in the program, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. I'm not trying to judge the person who has gotten sidetracked, could accomplish some great things if only they would just, tone down the emotional attachment to those other negative emotions and energies that they're putting out there. And we all need to take a lesson. And that's one of the reasons why that first statement, teacher, thank you for teaching me how not to be. And I've got enough of my own health issues that I'm working through, as we all do. I don't want to add to them. But thank you for sharing what you have today here on the program.
Thank you, Richard, so much. It was a pleasure.
I'm going to ask you those three questions I asked you the last time you were on the program. But before I do, I want to thank you for listening and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com, with podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and we're also on YouTube where you can watch these conversations. We hope you'll click subscribe and notification. And we hope you'll also go to Amazon and get a copy of my book, Choices, 5 Steps for Life, in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle. And also, if you can leave us a tip, we would be gratefully appreciative. Our tip jar is called PayPal. And if you go to richarddugan.com, at the top of the page, there are links to Amazon for my book and the tip jar PayPal. So thank you, thank you, thank you to those who have helped and to those who will. And finally, we didn't get into this, but next time we will. We'll have you back, Annie, to talk about how we can spend some time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, going within and listening to that still small voice. With all that being said, we now ask of though our special guest the final three questions, of the first which is, who is Annie Guest?
A mental health therapist and former family caregiver who adores interior design, but more importantly, a human being who is navigating the the aftermath of a challenging experience and figuring out what to do with the years I have still
Mm-hmm.
available
Yeah.
while I still have my health.
What gets you up in the morning?
Mm. Always, I try to seize on something I'm enthusiastic about that'll spring me out of bed.
Hmm. And finally, what was your best day?
Probably a day when my entire family was together, and maybe Thanksgiving, the last Thanksgiving I spent with my brother, when we
Hmm.
were all with his family and cooking and relaxing, um, and knowing that it was probably the last.
Yeah. Well, once again, this will not be the last that we will see you on this program. I look forward to having you back again next year in 2026 to talk more about your work and the book and this whole area because I believe that the more we talk about it, the better we feel that we kind of get it out, put it out there and we let it go a little bit more and a little bit more until okay, I'm good. I'm good. So thank you for helping us to do that. And thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love Talal, Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike,
Thank
thanks for
you.
being in my life and letting me be in yours. To my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.